Evening, hope everyone's doing alright on Blue Monday. So, the news that broke around 4 o'clock today is that Everton and Nottingham Forest, not just us, have been sanctioned with a breach of financial fair play by the Premier League once again for the 22-23 season. This is hot on the heels of everything that was happening yesterday with the fan advisory board, Andy Burnham and Steve Rotherham, and we knew it was coming. We knew that, you know, we've been waiting for this moment for most of the day, most of the week, when we found out that, you know, we were going to probably be sanctioned for this once again. Now, I'm going to read the statement, so I apologise if I look down, or, you know, because I've got it in my screen here, so I'm just going to look through it. So Everton's statement is as follows: Everton Football Club acknowledges the Premier League's decision to refer a breach of profit and sustainability rules, PSR, for the assessment period ending with the 22-23 season to an independent Premier League commission. This relates to a period which covers 2019, 2020, 21, 22 and 22, 23. So 4 years and not the 3 years that they state. It therefore includes financial period 19, 20, 21, 22, for which the club has already received a 10-point sanction. So the club is already appealing this sanction, which we know. Premier League does not have guidelines which prevent a club being sanctioned for alleged breaches in financial periods which have already been subject to punishment. So basically what Everton is saying here is, you've punished us once, there's nothing in the guidelines to say that you can punish us again for the same crime, same punishment, double jeopardy, as Andy Burnham was pointing out yesterday. You know, how can you bring up a sanction for the club when we've already been punished for it once? You can't, you know, especially in the same season. So I can understand that if it was next season, or, you know, we're starting with a sanction or whatever, but at this moment in time, we shouldn't be, because there's nothing in the guidelines to say we can be punished for the same problem, the same issue. And if it relates still to this interest paid on the stadium, then again, because you've changed the rules midway through the season that says the stadium infrastructure and everything else can actually be part now of financial fair play, then you've given us no leg to stand on. It's like getting flashed for a speeding ticket again before you've had a chance to apply the brakes as the next one's coming up. It's ridiculous, the whole thing. So because there's no guidelines, only in the English Football League, not the Premier League as well, EFL guidelines. So unlike the other governing bodies, including the EFL, so they have guidelines to say yes, you can be punished, which we've seen with the likes of Derby County, with Wigan, etc., who've been punished for, you know, breaches in wages, in, you know, financial fair play, that kind of stuff. There's nothing in the league, in the Premier League's guidelines, that says we can be punished twice for it. So the club must now defend another Premier League complaint, which includes the very same financial periods for which it's already been sanctioned, before that appeal has even been heard. So we have to appeal that, and then we have to go and justify this and appeal this, which then rolls into May, which I'll get to in a minute. The club takes the view that this results from a clear deficiency in the Premier League rules. Exactly what Andy Burnham was saying yesterday, which I'll also get to. So Everton can assure its fans that it will continue to defend its position during the ongoing appeal, should it be required to do so at any future commission, and that the impact on supporters will be reflected as part of the process. With all fairness, Everton, I don't know who is actually part of this. I know we brought in this brief, who's supposed to be super silk, whatever, smooth as you like, whatever he's being called, to actually defend the club, because I don't see anyone within the infrastructure of Everton actually with the brains to actually do this. And, you know, especially when Mashiri is now still looking to sell to 777 Partners, who are being sued by an American investor for close to $30 million for whatever reason. I didn't read into it fully, but apparently he's now suing the 777 group. So, okay, so let's look at the Premier League's ruling on it. Two clubs have each confirmed to the Premier League that they are in breach of the league's profit and sustainability rules. Wrong. We haven't confirmed that we are in breach. We've acknowledged your decision to say that we're in breach. We haven't acknowledged what you're saying. You're saying that we've gone, yeah, we're in breach and we're guilty before we've even been charged. Everton FC and Nottingham Forest FC have each confirmed to the Premier League, no, we've submitted documents and we've submitted our accounts to the Premier League that they are in breach of the league's profitability and sustainability rules. This is a result of sustaining losses above the permitted threshold for the assessment period ending season 22-23. The season that we'd already applied and should give them all the things for, which is what we're saying, is that we told you 3 years worth and now you've only given us a year. We've had to sell. We've sold players on pretty much on your advice. The club were working with the Premier League to get this kind of yes/no policy. Where could we sign players? Could we? No, you have to sell. Okay, we'll have to sell Richarlison. Okay, we'll sell Anthony Gordon. You know, we'll sell off the silverware and make us sustainable, make us, you know, viable. In accordance with Premier League rules, both cases have now been referred to the chair of the judicial panel, who will appoint separate commissions to determine the appropriate sanction. That can go and fuck off as well, because who knows who they're going to get to frigging be part of this independent panel like the last one. And it makes no sense that the Premier League are marking their own homework yet again. Commissions are independent from the Premier League. The proceedings are heard in private, with the Commission's final decision made public on the Premier League website, and the League will make no further comment until that time. This is because Richard Masters is at Parliament tomorrow to talk about whether or not the Premier League can sustain it and, you know, basically mark its own homework. There'll be no mention of this. So I'm hoping that someone like Steve Rotherham or Andy Burnham are in there at the same time during Masters' time where he's talking to Parliament, and hopefully they also mention stuff about this case that's been paid out by the Premier League to keep someone quiet over, you know, sexual allegations and things like that, and Richard Masters' name would come up in all of this. So there's still a lot of, you know, hang on mate, you're not whiter than white here either. So profit and sustainability rules. All Premier Leagues are assessed for their compliance with the profit and sustainability rules each year. Compliance is assessed by reference to the club's PSR calculation, which is done by Horizon. It's not, but you get the point. Do you know what I mean? It may as well have been done by the Horizon fucking machine, and that's however we're looking at it. A club's adjusted earning before tax figure each season take account of its profit or loss after depreciation and interest, but before tax, and then applies a series of add-backs. Add-backs that include and recognised to be in the general interest of the club and football, e.g. investment in infrastructure community, Everton in the community, women's football, Everton women, youth development, we've got a youth academy, right the way down from under 9s and less, and depreciation in tangible fixed assets, exceptionally in relation to years 19, 20, 21, 22, 21, 22, COVID-19 costs were also included as add-backs. Now, I don't know how much Everton paid back with add-backs, but obviously we didn't furlough anyone during that period. We didn't lay anyone off. Everyone was still there. But we've had, obviously, other mitigating circumstances, such as player X having to sell for everything else. A club will be in breach of the PSR over the relevant periods in a loss in excess of 105 million, with that threshold reduced by 22 million for each season that the relevant club has been in the Championship during that relevant period. Due to Nottingham Forest spending 2 seasons in the Championship within the 3-year assessment period, the maximum loss for the club is 61 million. At the 2023 general meeting, clubs agreed to bring forward the date. Both cases will be proceeded in, blah, blah, blah. Clubs also agreed to a standard directions for PSR cases to seek to ensure such cases are resolved within the season which the complaint is issued. So this is what I was saying before. So I think they gave dates. They gave dates on Sky Sports where it was going through from now to the end of February into April. And then by May the 19th is when the league finishes, I think. By the 22nd, we'll know whether the club has been in breach and punishment will be served. So technically, Everton could finish just like so let's say we don't get these 10 points back from the first appeal, and we're still languishing 16, 17, 15, 16, 17, say. But we're about 7 or 8 points clear. And then we survive, skin of our teeth, whatever that might be, last day of the season. And then the Premier League decide to take 8 points, 10 points, whatever it might be, again, and throws Everton into the relegation zone. And whoever was in that relegation zone suddenly pops out. The same for Forest, but I'll talk about Forest in just a sec. But the fact is that we could go through all this again, survive by the skin of our teeth for probably the 3rd season in a row, and then be punished over financial fair play and PSR. So the whole thing really is, it stinks, because this is where the letter from Andy Burnham comes in, where it was signed by 3 of the politicians. That was following on from the letter from Andy Burnham. It's signed by Sir Brendan Barber, Mark Carney and Dame Sue Owen, who are all ex-politicians but have all been involved in like ACAS and Bank of England and things like that, especially Mark Carney was the former member of the board, or the head of the Bank of England. So to see that these 3 are also not just saying this as Evertonians, but they're agreeing that, you know, well, there's all these mitigating circumstances, there's all these things that have gone on with the club, that a more measured transition into a new regime would have been appropriate because of, and I apologise because I've got all the letters here, you know, and this is what I was saying before, where it was the mitigating circumstances with the likes of, where was it, sorry, it was the thing to do with youth development, football team, infrastructure, community, you know, equally important for the fans, Everton fans, is the social impact of the club. The work of Everton in the community reaches out to the unemployed, disabled, veterans, people living in poverty, as well as contributing to the fight against drugs and addiction, all real local issues. The Everton Free School, which is being classed as by Ofsted as outstanding. The Blue Family Campaign supports over 29,000 individuals and families with urgent support during the COVID pandemic. Since then, the Blue Base provided a food bank. You know, it's all these things where we're saying 10 points are worth at least £20 million, about the same as the alleged loss of the £19.5 million. This financial penalty is compounded as attracting commercial investment and sponsorship will and doubtless become harder for any club with the spectre of any sanctions hanging over them, which is the whole thing with the 777 group. They're looking now to think if we'll probably be a cheap opportunity, because Machidi will just go, listen, I'm just going to fucking wipe my hands with this is in the Championship, and they'll just cherry pick it. But then what did they do? Did they start selling all that off to try and recoup the 140 that they've already paid to us? You know, there's, you know, the letter here is, you need to read through the letters and the stuff that's gone through from the fan advisory board. Now, unfortunately, we were meant to talk to the fan advisory board. We were meant to talk to Pablo, but obviously today has turned into a little bit, you know, unfortunately he can't make it, and we might be able to catch him later in the week. But the whole thing needs to be, you need to look at the, you need to watch the video that's on Twitter from the fan advisory board. It's also on YouTube. I'll post the link in the comments. You need to look at the letter from Andy Burnham and from Brendan Barber, Mark Carney and Sue Owen. You need to read that and go through it, because it all follows on from what Andy Burnham's been saying in the last couple of weeks. You know, there's all, as well as all these things going on, Andy Burnham is being prevented from being actually shown on television, which is being pushed by Sky. They pushed that interview where he was on with Sky Sports talking about Everton sanctions and the 10-point deduction. Stuff like this needs to be brought out into the media more. So I urge you to watch the video with the fan advisory board with Dave Kelly, Katie Carter, Steve Rotherham and Andy Burnham. It just goes through everything that I'm trying to put into like 15 minutes. It's all there and it's all on black and white on the letter. Read through that and, you know, you'll get a better idea of what the fan advisory board need to do, what the fans need to be doing, what we need to be doing as a whole, you know, as a club. You know, I think that the next few weeks are going to be really tough. I think we also need to block out the comments from other fans that keep saying we've cheated. I'm getting sick to the fucking back teeth of hearing you cheated. fuck off, mate, and go and read up. We haven't cheated. We've breached financial fair play and we breached sanctions. Jesus Christ, are you really telling me a 10-point deduction is it's not right? You know, when you get 9 points for administration, when you get, you know, a slap on the wrist for serious other little things, you know, it's fucking pathetic. A 10-point deduction is there to make an example out of Everton, and I can guarantee nothing will happen to Nottingham Forest, because that Brennan Johnson transfer, which was meant to happen round about August, I think if they'd done it at the end of September, would have been all right, because they'd have made the money, but they made more money on the latest signing. So it'll be like, oh well, sorry, we've looked in our best interest for financial fair play and, you know, sustainability of our club, and we've got more for X player. Everton would have done that if we'd have been able to get rid of player X. Instead, the FA tell us that we can't play him, so we've had to suspend him on full pay. You then told us we've had to sell Richarlison, we've had to then sell Anthony Gordon because we can't keep up with it, and then we've not had money to spend. So I do urge you to, hopefully you've watched this, because it's nearly 17 minutes long and you've listened to what I've had to say, but let's not jump on each other's back. If you think that people are struggling as well, I urge you to go and speak to them. There's people who take this a lot worse than maybe me or you, and, you know, I mean, yeah, I'm pissed off, it's annoyed me, but I've got other things going on, you know, and people have got, sometimes this is people's lives. This isn't just the lives of, you know, the fans. This is staff at Goodison. This is the training ground staff. This is the groundsmen. This is the stewards. This is everything. This is the lifeblood of this community and this town. And, you know, Walton's a small place, but it's got a big heart, and that's what needs to be pushed. There needs to be. I sound like I'm saying a loving, but there's got to be, just like, we've been absolutely fantastic since this 10-point deduction. We've got to be closer than ever before. I see all sorts on social media. Listen, if you're getting wound up on social media, just switch off, just go for a walk, just don't let social media bug you, because it's probably the worst place at the moment. There's all sorts of rumours flying around, there's all sorts of shouting, and there's all sorts of, he's done this and he's done that, she's done this, and accusations and all sorts of flying. We know the circumstances, we know why we're here. We fucked it up, and we're just getting up. We just got to deal with it. But I think we just got to deal with it in the right way as fans, and we've got to look out for each other. So obviously, let me know what you think in the comments. This is going to be a big one. It's going to roll and roll and roll. Hopefully we'll be able to have Pablo back in a few days once the dust settles a little bit and we know where the club are and what's going to be, you know, imposed, and what's going to be the next steps of the fan advisory board, the 1878s, the originals, whoever's dealing with flags and banners and everything else. Let's just see where we go from there. But until then, you know, please make sure you've liked and subscribed to the channel. It does help us out a lot. I'll bring you more news as it comes. Till then, up the fucking toffees. Colin Chong. See you in a bit.